Take a slow, deep breath in. And just let it out. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're stepping away from all the noise, the rush, and the constant notifications to focus on something deeply comforting. We're going to walk through a calming, guided look at how to navigate those moments of really deep distress. Specifically, we'll be looking at Islamic supplications or du'as that are designed for anxiety relief, drawing on some wonderful insights from Muslim Women Australia and Sunan. So let's gently dive into this and hopefully find a bit of peace together. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, I want you to know right off the bat that your feelings are entirely valid. I mean, are you feeling overwhelmed by life's trials? It's a reality for so many of us, isn't it? Our sources highlight how global health crises, social isolation, and this widespread economic instability have just drastically spiked our collective anxiety and fear. The whole world is navigating intense uncertainty and emotional distress right now. So please know you're absolutely not alone in feeling the weight of these trials. There's this really stark contrast we want to explore today. On one hand, we've got the weight of the world. You know, that modern anxiety, the isolation, the sheer fear of the unknown that can leave us feeling totally adrift. But on the other hand, we have the anchor of faith. The sources explain that belief in divine decree, finding spiritual grounding, and actively seeking refuge, well, they can truly soothe an anxious heart. And this is exactly where the concept of dua, supplication or prayer, comes in. It acts as a protective, grounding remedy. But before we look at the specific prayers themselves, it really helps to understand the underlying framework. Like, why do we even face hardships in the first place? Well, according to the Islamic tradition outlined in our sources, everything decided for a person is considered perfectly balanced. Hardships are actually viewed through a lens of unseen blessings. Trials are understood as an expiation for sins, a way to raise your spiritual status, a means to attain profound closeness to Allah, and ultimately something that's absolutely essential for human growth. It's really a total reframing of suffering into a path of spiritual elevation. Now, just consider this really profound definition of prayer from the classical scholar Imam Ibn al-Qayyim. He states, "Dua is one of the most beneficial remedies. It is the enemy of calamity. It is the weapon of the believer." So the absolute crucial point here is that dua isn't just passive hoping, not at all. It's presented as an active, therapeutic remedy. It repels calamity, cures it, and alleviates it. It's literally an active tool for your emotional and spiritual survival. Section 1. Core prayers for relieving anxiety. Powerful supplications for inner peace. I invite you to just relax your shoulders for a second and mentally follow along as we look at our very first prayer. I'm going to read the transliteration slowly so you can really absorb it. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khawf wal-ham. This translates to, "O Allah, I seek refuge in you from fear and anxiety." You see, the sources note that fear and doubt can completely block us from moving forward. They paralyze us. Repeating this short, simple phrase is meant to alleviate that anxiety, providing inner peace, confidence, and the strength you need to face challenges without that paralyzing fear holding you back. The reason that previous prayer works so beautifully, according to the tradition, is rooted in the concept of tawakkul. Now, tawakkul is a sense of absolute, unwavering trust in Allah's plan. When you recite these prayers, you aren't just reciting words into the air. You are actively cultivating this deep trust. By seeking refuge, you're essentially handing over the fears that you simply can't control. And our sources explain that this surrender is what actually restores your mental clarity and inner peace during those incredibly uncertain moments. And that brings us perfectly to our second prayer, which is a deeply comforting verse directly from the Quran. Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illahu alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbu al-arshi al-azim. Meaning, Allah is enough for me. There is no true God but Him. In Him I put my trust, and He is the Lord of the great throne. The tradition, specifically from Abu Dawood, suggests repeating this 7 times. It becomes this rhythmic, calming reminder that absolutely everything in creation is under divine control. Let's take a closer look at the end of that prayer, which mentions the great throne. What exactly does that mean? Well, the throne is considered the greatest of all creations, symbolizing ultimate divine control and perfect management of all worldly affairs. The theology here is incredibly comforting for an anxious mind. It teaches that once you've put in your human effort, once you've done everything you realistically can, you can just completely let go of the worry. The outcome is perfectly managed by the Lord of the Great Throne. You really don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders anymore. Moving on, our third prayer is slightly longer, but it is just incredibly comprehensive. From the collection of Al-Bukhari, it reads, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-huzni wal-ajizi wal-kasli wal-bukhli wal-jubni wa-dalai daini wal-ghalabati rijal, which translates to, O Allah, I take refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, weakness and laziness, miserliness and cowardice, the burden of debts, and from being overpowered by men. Just look at how incredibly specific this is. It addresses depression, a lack of motivation, cowardice, and even the crushing, highly practical burden of financial debt. And honestly, this is exactly why this specific dua is highlighted as such a vital tool. The sources emphasize that this prayer acts as a critical shield for us. During turbulent times of economic instability or, say, public health crises, it prevents panic. It actually helps believers maintain hope and shields them against the heavy uncertainties of modern life, constantly reminding them that they're safeguarded by a most merciful protector. It truly covers your spiritual, your emotional, and your very practical worldly bases all at once. Section 2. The Prayer of Prophet Yunus. Finding a way out of the deepest darkness. Sometimes, our distress isn't just a general hum of anxiety. Sometimes we feel completely trapped, stuck, or utterly overwhelmed by our very own mistakes. This is the exact prayer Prophet Yunus called out when he was physically trapped in the pitch-black darkness of the belly of the whale. La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. O Allah, there's no God except you. You are far above all imperfections. Indeed, I have been among the wrongdoers. The Quran states that God answered his call, rescued him from that immense distress, and promises to rescue believers in the exact same way when they sincerely call upon him. So what makes this specific dua so uniquely powerful? Let's break down its spiritual anatomy based on classical scholars. First off, it combines tawheed, which is declaring the absolute oneness of God, with tasbih, glorifying him above any imperfections. But crucially, and this is the key part, it includes a deeply sincere, humble admission of personal faults. I have been among the wrongdoers. This profound humility is viewed as a universal formula. The sources note that no matter what kind of hardship you find yourself trapped in, this attitude of complete humility is a fundamental reason for a prayer to be answered and rescue to be granted. Section 3. How to practice these duas. Integrating these prayers into your daily life. Okay, so we have these beautiful, calming words, but how do we actually put them to use? The sources provide very clear, actionable steps to create a sustainable, spiritually grounding routine that helps keep anxiety at bay. First, recite them often whenever you feel that heavy weight of hardship. Second, if you observe the Islamic daily prayers, use these duas right in your salah, particularly in sujood or prostration. Now, point 3 is incredibly vital. Focus on sincerity, not counting. The Sunan source explicitly advises against invented rituals of strict counting that have no clear evidence. Your presence and your humility matter so much more than hitting a fixed number. And finally, pair your prayers with real tawbah, or repentance, which means leaving behind harmful actions and actively returning to better deeds. We're going to wrap up our explainer today with this incredibly soothing verse from the Quran. If my slaves ask you about me, I am near. I answer the call of the caller when he calls on me. Ultimately, the absolute greatest comfort highlighted in the source material isn't just the words of the prayers themselves, but the profound, unwavering belief that you are heard. You are never just speaking into a void. So, as you step back into the inevitable rush of your daily life, I'll leave you with this. Which of these prayers will you anchor yourself to when the weight of the world tries to return? Thank you so much for taking this time with me on The Explainer, and please take care of yourselves out there.